Hello students, today we're going to be working in Access Lesson 4. Let me go back to that lesson here. Remember that if you're trying to open up your book, go into our folder, and we always want to click Open with Adobe Acrobat Reader. Okay, and once you're here, alright, on page 58 in your book, we're going to be modifying a database table and creating field properties and modifying fields. So for this lesson, I'm going to go ahead and close out of a couple of things here just to keep it a little bit more simple. We're going to need to open up the events database table. So I'm going to go into Access folder, and then I'm going to choose my databases, and I need to pick Lesson 4, Events. Okay, and then right away I'm going to go to Save As, choose Save As right here, and find my Info Tech folder, Access Lesson 4, and I want to name it Events-Final, and we'll hit Save. Okay. If you get a warning bar right here that says Enable Editing, please make sure you click that. Right here it says Take Note. You stop indicating it as a separate step from this point on, but always click Enable Editing when prompted. So in the Navigations pane, we're going to click on the Events to open up the table. Alright, and then on the Home tab, in the Views group, we're going to change our view to Design View. Okay, and then on the Design tab in the Show Hide group, we're going to click Sheet Property. Property Sheet. The Property Sheet pane appears at the right of the Access window. I'm going to close out of this one real fast here. Alright. So here's my property sheet over here on the side. Okay, it says place the insertion point in the property box for description. So that'll be right here. And it says press Shift F2. Okay. To open up the Zoom dialog box. So Shift and then the F2 key, which is at the top of your keyboard. We're going to type in most popular events for 2016. Okay, and then click OK. And so you'll see the description over here on the side. And then it says to click the close button on the property sheet, which is right here. And we're going to click the File tab and click Save to save the design changes that you have made to the table. And then click the Close button to close the table. So we're going to close Events. Alright. Pause, leave the database open to use the next exercise. Alright, so we're going to be changing some of our table properties. And you can use this table to kind of understand some of the properties. So maybe take a moment to look over this if you, need help understanding what all of these are used for. Alright, so first we're going to rename a table. It says use the events final database that is still open from the previous exercise. On the Create tab, in the Templates group, we're going to click on Application Parts, and then we're going to click on Comments to create a new table. In the relationship dialog box that appears, we're going to click There is no relationship, and then click Create. It says Open the Comments table in the navigation pane, and then select Rename. Oh, whoops, I can't. I double clicked, so I gotta close out of my comments. So in order to rename it, you can't have your table already open. So let's go to rename, and the dialog box appears right here. Alright, and we're going to name this events or event comments. Then press enter once you've typed that in. Alright. Next, we're going to practice deleting a table. So it says get ready, use the same document, events final, and we're going to right click the events comments table, and we're going to delete the table. You'll see a warning message. Do you want to delete this table? Deleting this object will remove it from all groups. We're going to go ahead and click yes. Okay, if a table was related to another or to one or more additional tables, Access would ask if you wanted to delete those relationships before deleting the table. Okay, so next we're going to move on down. We're going to be setting a field property in the datasheet view and in design view. So double click the events table to open it. And then we're going to click the location column header to select it. And we're going to click the required checkbox in the field validation group on the Table Tools Fields tab. So we're going to go to Table Tools Fields tab, and in Field Validation Group, I'm going to check Required. Okay, next it says on the Home tab, in the Views group, we're going to change it over to Design View. And in the field name column in the middle portion of the table design grid, we're going to click Location cell. In the default value row in the lower portion of table design grid, we're going to select 150. Hold on. Let's see. Sorry, actually right here in default value, okay, we're going to click down here in our field properties, and we're going to type in to be announced to specify a value that will be automatically entered in this field for new records. So in the field name column, in the upper portion, we're going to click on title. And in the field size row, in the lower portion of the table, we're going to select 150 in the property box, and we're going to type in 175. Okay, this changes the amount of characters, the maximum amount of characters you can have in this title field. Go ahead and press enter to lock in your change. And next we're going to be defining the input mask. So we're still using the same database, and in the field name we're going to click start date, and where it says input mask we're going to click on the ... Okay, a message appears asking if you want to save now. We're going to click yes to save. Okay, and the mask wizard opens up. What we're going to do is we're going to choose the medium date input mask right here, so just click on it and then we're going to click next. The next screen in the input mask wizard appears. If you wanted to change the input mask, you would do so here. You could also test entering in the values to try it in the text area. So we're going to click Next to accept the default changes and then click Finish. Okay, so we've added in a format for how we want the start date to appear. Okay, next we're going to be allowing zero-length strings in a field. A zero-length string contains no characters. You use the string to indicate that you no value exists for a particular field. So in the field name column, we're going to click on the description cell to select it. And we're going to come down here to where it says allow zero length. We're going to click on this drop down arrow and we're going to choose yes. Okay. So when we change it to zero length string, it says this recognition of non-existent value actually represents a string. You enter a zero-length string by typing 2 double quotation marks with no space between them. In this exercise, you will modify the zero-length property. So when you go back to the table view, you'll be able to enter in the 2 quotation marks. Okay, validation rule. Validation rules help ensure that your database users enter the proper types or amounts of data. A validation rule is an expression that limits the values that can be entered into the field. For example, the maximum length for the validation rule property is 2048 characters. Validation text specifies the text in the error message that appears when a user violates a validation rule. So we're going to be changing that next. So in the field name column in the upper end, we're going to click end date. And down here, we're going to click on validation rule property box. And we're going to choose this little dot at the far right of the cell. We're going to click on the expression builder button to display the expression builder dialog box. Okay, so the little dot is the expression builder dialog box button. And we're going to select the number 1900s and we're going to replace it by typing 2016. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to click in the validation text and we're going to replace 1900 right here with 2016 as well. Okay, so the validation must be greater than or equal to 2016. Okay. Next it says in the field name column in the upper portion of the design tab, we're going to be entering in captions next. We're going to click on the location cell. And then down here we're going to click on caption and we're going to type venue. Okay, the caption property has now been set to venue and will display as a column name in the table data sheet view, as well as labels for forms, reports, and queries. Alright. To change an existing caption, simply follow the same steps as you would for entering a caption. Overwrite the existing caption with a new caption. Alright, so now we're going to create a field, or creating new fields. So we're using still the events final database, and it says on the home tab in the views group, we're going to click the drop down arrow and we're going to choose data sheet view. Okay, if it's asked, you get a message about saving the table, and then click yes also for this data integrity rules. Okay, whenever you add or modify field validation rules for fields that contain data, the data may violate these new rules. You can allow access to test the data against the rule and inform you if there's any violations. It says scroll to the right of the field events table and display the last column, and then click to add. Alright, and we're going to change this to a yes, no. From the menu that appears, you're going to add a new field with a yes, no data type in which you can indicate whether events will have on-site staff. A new field named Field 1 is added, and click to add becomes the last column in the table. Alright, so next we're going to right click and we're going to choose, let's try that again. Right click and we're going to choose rename field. And we're going to type on site staff. Okay, and then we're going to click the More Fields button in the Add and Delete group of the Table, Tools, Fields, Contextual tab. So in the Add and Delete group, click on More Fields right here. Okay, and it gives you a big drop-down list. In the Quick Start category, we're going to choose Status. And then select Not Started. Okay. Alright. Click Not Started. Okay. It says pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Next we're going to be deleting a field. So it says click the column header for the attachment field. This is the attachment field. And we're going to click the delete field. So when we right click, we're going to choose delete field. It says, do you want to permanently delete this field? And we're going to click yes. Okay, and then a confirmation one will pop up. We're going to click yes again. And it says to click the column header for the status field. Okay, and we're also going to right click on this one. And it says to display the shortcut menu, we're going to click delete field. In the message box that appears, we're going to click yes again. And it says to pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Creating multi-valued lookup fields. Still using the same database. It says place an insertion point in the first cell of the table. Okay, so I'm going to click right there to make sure I have my insertion point in this one for ID. It says click the More Fields button, and in the relationships, and then click the Lookup and Relationship button. Oh, right here. Alright, it says we're going to click Next to accept the default setting. I want the lookup field to get the values from another table or query. So we'll click Next, and then it says click Next to accept the default settings that display the next screen in the lookup wizard. Okay, and then in the available fields this time we're going to choose last name. We're going to click the arrow to move it to the selected fields. We're also going to choose first name, click on that arrow. So our lookup wizard should currently look like this. It says click the next to accept your settings. Okay, and then we're going to click the down arrow next to last name, or down arrow, and we're going to choose last name. And this will sort the lookup column in alphabetical order by last name. It says click next to accept your selection. And then it says click next to accept the default selection and to hide the primary key. So you want to make sure that's clicked. You have a check mark next to hide key column. Okay, and in what label you would like for your lookup field, we're going to, in the box, we're going to type coordinator. This will create a new label named coordinator for your column. It says to click on allow multiple values checkbox to allow for multiple selection of values. The completed dialog box should look like this picture. We're going to go ahead and click the finish button, and then we're going to click, or a new column named coordinator appears after the ID field. So that's correct. It says click the down arrow in the first cell to display a list of names. We're going to click on Flood Kathy, and then click on Mares Gabe, and we're going to click OK. It says stop, close the database, and exit Excel. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of it. Okay, it saves automatically, so you don't need to worry about hitting save. And next, you guys can go on to the knowledge assessment for lesson 4 and work on the projects.